Imagine making the ultimate sacrifice to save the entire world, only to wake up and find your legendary legacy has been completely, well, trashed. Welcome to this explainer. We're diving into a truly epic reincarnation story that takes that classic trope and just completely flips it on its head. Because instead of waking up 1,000 years in the future where everything is forgotten and peaceful, our protagonist wakes up close enough to the tragedy to see the immediate, humiliating aftermath of it all. It's a story of vengeance, reclaiming lost power, and bringing a ruined institution back from the absolute brink. So, we actually kick things off with that ultimate sacrifice. Oscar Sage, a legendary level 9 archmage and the master of the White Tower, literally gives his life to defeat the demon high priest, a terrifying monster that had brought humanity right to the edge of collapse. Now, as he's lying there dying, his chest pierced by a blade, he speaks to Edna, the last dragon and the observer of history. He has regrets. He was an unrivaled mage, sure, but he feels he really wasn't a good leader. He leaves behind this incredibly intense final wish, swearing that if he ever gets another chance, he won't be the selfless martyr anymore. He's going to live selfishly and ruthlessly, solely for his own people. And here is where we get some serious whiplash. He doesn't wake up 1,000 years later as some forgotten myth. Nope, he awakens just one generation into the future, exactly 20 years later. He wakes up with a beating heart, gasping for air, in a world that has rapidly industrialized thanks to magical engineering. I mean, there are streetlights and cars now. But for Oscar, the trauma of that demonic war is still completely fresh, making this brief 20-year time skip incredibly disorienting. Of course, he quickly realizes he isn't the all-powerful savior anymore. He wakes up in the body of Oscar Crucian, a frankly pathetic 20-year-old level 1 mage from a fallen noble family. The original Oscar Crucian was a theoretical genius, but an absolutely terrible practical mage. He took a cheap, illegal elixir out of pure desperation and essentially died from it. But our archmage realizes something really sinister right away. This kid didn't just overdose. The elixir was heavily laced with lethal poison. Someone intentionally murdered this kid. Now, imagine his absolute horror when he actually looks around. Back in his past life, his White Tower ruled the skies, monopolized the incredibly lucrative potion market, and literally saved humanity. But now, oh man, they are completely bankrupt. The Yellow Tower controls engineering, the Blue Tower controls water and potions, and the Red Tower handles all the military operations. The glorious White Tower has literally been reduced to a glorified courier service. They are using their elite wind magic to run errands and deliver packages. Oscar is just utterly mortified at what his once great legacy has become. But here's the real twist, right? Oscar's new body isn't actually inherently weak. The previous owner was diagnosed with something called mana deficiency syndrome, which is this condition that supposedly prevents a mage from ever advancing past level 3. But Oscar is a genius, and his diagnostic skills immediately spot the truth. This isn't a disease at all. Someone deliberately and maliciously tied his mana circuits into a knot to permanently cripple him. Oscar vows to untie this knot and make whoever clipped this young boy's wings pay dearly. So, to save his bankrupt tower and, fund his revenge, Oscar needs money, and he needs it fast. He decides to target a massive, deadly crisis that's happening right now, the Kadena flu. It's a devastating epidemic ravaging the city of Vince, and it is a terrifying race against time. 20 years ago, the White Tower actually held the monopoly on the cure for this exact disease, but the recipe was burned during the demonic invasion. Oscar, having memorized the lost formula from his past life, decides to hustle and corner the medical market to revive his tower's financial dominance. You're probably wondering, how does a level 1 mage with barely any mana actually brew a complex cure? Well, pure, unadulterated brain power. He buys these dirt-cheap, highly toxic herbs like black lilies and ghost mushrooms. Then, using a super simple food vaporizer, he performs a high-level technique called air drainage. He literally sucks the poison out as a vapor, leaving behind pure, toxin-free nutrients. It's incredible. He turns lethal, worthless poison into a miracle cure through sheer intellect. Armed with this, he literally crashes a critical meeting between the rival Blue Tower and Archbishop Baldwin. The Blue Tower is sitting there demanding months of time and millions in funding to produce a cure. Oscar just slams a finished sample right on the table. He exploits a wartime legal loophole that allows the immediate distribution of cures during Class B disasters. By saving the Archbishop's political campaign and curing the city overnight, Oscar secures a massive, tower-saving fortune of 10 million bells. Okay, so with his pockets totally full, Oscar realizes he needs a loyal squad. Enter Frank Sirius, a pretty terrified level 3 student. Frank possesses this mythical innate blessing called wind god magic. It is insanely overpowered. It allows him to literally turn his physical body into intangible wind, making him completely immune to physical attacks. The only problem? Frank is terrified of it because he almost accidentally erased himself from existence. Frank's wealthy family actually tries to pull him out of the tower for an arranged marriage, basically seeing him as an absolute failure. But Oscar steps in with just pure swagger. He makes a massive bet with Frank's arrogant older brother. He promises to turn Frank into a level 4 mage in a single day, or he'll give up 50 years of his new vaccine profits. Talk about high stakes. Oscar steps up as the ultimate mentor, identifying that Frank's issue isn't a lack of talent at all, but just a tiny blockage in his mana flow. He fixes Frank's mana control in a matter of hours. This whole bet culminates in a massive high-stakes duel against the brothers' elite knight. The knight charges right at him, but Frank, he doesn't even flinch. Using that wind god magic, he literally phases his chest right through the lethal blade. He utilizes the ultimate form of his magic, unification, to turn the opponent's victory necklace into wind, snatching it right off his neck. Frank secures his place in the White Tower, and Oscar definitively proves his sheer genius as a teacher. But as you might expect, staggering success brings some really dangerous enemies. While out trying to secure an herb farm, Oscar finds himself hunted by Jack the Gunslinger, an elite assassin wielding a terrifying, magically enhanced modern firearm called Trinity. See, magic has aggressively evolved in the last 20 years, and this gun fires bullets imbued with acceleration, enhancement, and armor penetration. For a weakened level 1 mage, this is a severe disadvantage and honestly a total nightmare scenario. But Oscar's battle IQ is just absolutely off the charts. Jack fires a deadly shot that honestly should shatter any basic magic shield. But in real time, Oscar actively manipulates the friction and density of his wind barrier. He makes the outer layer soft and flexible to catch the bullet's momentum, and the inner layer rock hard to stop it dead. The enchanted bullet just harmlessly deflects, leaving the assassin completely stunned. And he doesn't stop there. Oscar actually calculates that Jack's gun has a tiny 1.4-second reload window. Exploiting this, he uses an experimental spell modeled directly after modern firearms. Within exactly 1.24 seconds, he accelerates his own body, closes the distance, and fires a hyper-compressed wind bullet straight through the assassin's head. It's a brutal, incredibly calculated finish that proves you simply do not mess with a reincarnated archmage. Having survived that crazy assassination attempt, Oscar shifts his focus back to restoring the White Tower's academic prestige. As he's slowly recovering his past life's knowledge, he secretly helps a struggling elder mage publish theories on Oscar's own ultimate past life creation, the Ouroboros. It's this legendary spell, a self-devouring serpent of wind that acts as an infinite mana source. He's literally restoring his own past life masterpieces from the shadows, elevating the tower's status without ever blowing his cover. Of course, the rival Red Tower isn't just going to sit back and let him rebuild in peace. While out tracking a mission with his fierce new ally, the forest warrior Killian, they walk straight into a brutal ambush. Fire and lightning rain down on Oscar from aggressive Red Tower assassins, instantly carbonizing his body into a pile of ash. The enemies are standing there gloating, fully believing they've easily killed the young noble. Yeah, they totally fell for the oldest trick in the book. The body that turned to ash, it was just an illusion clone created by a cheap little bracelet Oscar picked up on the black market. While the enemy is completely distracted, Oscar combines his wind magic with the surrounding water to create a massive, high-pressure vapor explosion. He completely obliterates the Red Tower assassins, proving that his tactical genius hasn't skipped a beat in 20 years. The ashes haven't even settled from that explosion before they're confronted by Kaya, who happens to be Killian's own sister. She's a corrupted warrior holding the terrifying title of the Tattooed King. She actually uses an ancient magical tribal tattoo, which is supposed to be used to boost morale, to brainwash her own mercenaries. It turns them into these mindless, pain-immune zombies. What follows is a vicious, high-speed clash of brutal martial arts and raw wind magic. They barely manage to survive that insane encounter with Kaya, but right here is where the entire story shifts gears, and the real dark twist drops. Oscar meets with local officials who are investigating the Kadena flu epidemic, and the epidemiological survey reveals something truly chilling. There was no natural epicenter for the outbreak. The disease actually started from a deliberately poisoned water well in an isolated estate, meaning the Kadena flu wasn't a natural disaster at all. It was a targeted, sinister biological attack on innocent civilians. To get to the bottom of this, Oscar captures and interrogates one of the assassins involved in the well poisoning. Using incredibly painful internal wind magic, he extracts a confession. The assassin spits out a chilling reality. They serve the fingers of the Black. The cult of the demon high priest is secretly returning. Think about the twisted irony here. Oscar literally sacrificed his life to kill this exact monster 20 years ago, and now they are out here using biological warfare to prepare for their master's resurrection. Which leaves us with a massive cliffhanger. The entire world thinks the demons are gone forever, but Oscar knows the absolute truth. So, what does this all mean? With his legacy in ruins, his new body weakened by a mysterious poison, and the ultimate evil pulling the strings from the shadows, how exactly will the reincarnated Archmage exact his revenge and save the world for a second time? What an absolutely incredible story. That wraps up this explainer for now, but you'll definitely want to keep your eyes peeled for what Oscar does next.